what I believe it's going on, and that's been the struggle all my life until a few weeks ago, is we are concerned with the how. How are we gonna make that happen? How is this gonna happen for us, right? Instead of saying this shit is just gonna happen. I don't care how. I don't care who.
Yeah.
I don't care what. This shit just gonna happen. If we change that language, if we move from the how to it's gonna happen, or it happened, just time didn't caught up with it yet, you're gonna see a major shift.
What's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Warriors Collective. It's Jacob Saldana checking in with my guys.
Hey, what up? And Woods.
Antonio.
Thanks for joining us for another conversation where we're just a few multi-dimensional men peeling back the layers to try to find some strength in our vulnerable conversations. That's what I think, when people ask what it is that we do that maybe haven't heard the podcast, that's the best way that I can use to kind of really explain this. So, fellas, thank you for joining today and making time in your busy schedules. Per usual, going to do a little check-in, see how we're feeling. I know Antonio's a little heated because his sandwich didn't get made in time, which pushed him back. But for me, I'm feeling good, man. I've had a couple of days of pretty solid sleep and waking up of feeling a little, I wouldn't necessarily say motivated, but less of the negative self-talk that I typically wake up with. So, feeling good about that. A little concerned with, COVID. A lot of people testing positive right now for COVID, which, I'm not worried about from like a place of fear, just more of like the consequences. And whereas like if I got to close down some businesses and shit, like during that time, so hoping it doesn't get too close to me so we can keep serving out some delicious smoothies and coffees and all that.
Yes.
But yeah, man, I'm feeling pretty good. So.
Glad to hear that, man.
Thanks, bro.
Glad to hear that.
Thank you.
What's up, G? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right.
You all right?
I'm all right.
All right, bro, let me check in. Checking in with tons of excitement. Tons and tons of excitement. I woke up feeling really, really ready for the week, ready for the day, ready for everything coming ahead of me. I've been leaning into more and more discomfort. I always tell you guys that. And so some things have been popping up recently for me that make me really, really anxious and nervous. And so as I'm assessing what these things are, I'm making that connection that these uncomfortable experiences are usually yielding very, very high ROI for me, man. And so I have a lot of thanks to Antonio. We had a dope conversation maybe a month or so ago, and since that convo, I've been approaching some things very, very differently. So again, I'm checking in with tons of excitement. Always grateful to be sitting with you guys and having some fly conversations and connecting with you guys out there too. So yeah, I'm good today. Yeah.
Right on, brother. So checking with a little bit of a guilt from running late to the podcast.
Shame.
Happens.
But overall, guys, check-in remains pretty in line with my check-in yesterday during our man group. A lot of excitement, a lot of good things going on in my life right now. I was actually texting with Jen earlier, my wife, and I see I don't think I haven't been this happy in a long time.
That's what's up.
Dang, man.
And
Yeah.
so, with that comes a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of fear around the steps that needs to be made in order to get there. But again, I look back and I see all the stuff that I've done, and here I am. I'm still here, so I will be fine. And with that, guys.
Dope. So I think we've talked about this in the past, but like when you have these feelings of like being happy, we don't try to like reverse engineer that as much as like when we're feeling upset. At least we've done pretty well at like, damn, why are we feeling bad? And sometimes it's the same fucking answer over and over. Why is it that you think you're feeling happy?
Why I'm feeling happy? Because I believe I'm finally aware of my upper limit. triggers, so to speak. Um, what that means is like I used to feel good, feel happy, and waiting for the rain to come down. And sure enough, the rain did come down hard, right? Now, when I do feel happy, I say, okay, I deserve this. I deserve to be happy. I'm gonna be happy tomorrow. I'm gonna be happy the following day. All right, and it's gonna be okay. And sure enough, this feeling of happiness, it's been lasting for a while. And so now I'm learning my upper limited belief. They don't necessarily show up in a form of inner talk, right? They also show up in a form of self-sabotage, in a form of physical illness, of injury, right? So I'm getting to learn these paths, these patterns that I have around that, and it's been very, very powerful, very, very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, because I'd say my default isn't necessarily happy. I mean, I think maybe at one point it was. So now when I have these moments of, and again, like I wouldn't even necessarily, wouldn't even necessarily say it's happiness. What's noticeable is that I'm less worried and I'm less unhappy. You know what I mean? So it's like I trying to reverse engineer that so I can recreate it, and it's like right now I've been for the past few days, last week or so is when I went to go visit family. So maybe that I need to get away a little bit. Maybe that's contributing to it. But then also this week I've been really taking advantage of like the services that I have available to me at Spacebar. It's almost been like a daily sauna or red light therapy or ice bath. Awesome. And it correlates too because, I wear a Whoop and I try to measure my recovery, or at least I look at that daily. And after this past week, every single day that I've done a service, again, usually sauna, red light, and ice bath, the following day, like my recovery score is like through the roof, upwards of 90%, where usually I'm floating around, 40% or whatever like that, right? So it's like, man, there's actually something that's showing up in the data too. And then the days that I haven't, so like Christmas Day, I didn't do shit and just lounged and watched movies. And my recovery score was down that next morning. So it's like, I wouldn't say it's all like guaranteed that, but those types of things are probably contributing to better night's sleep for me, deeper sleep, and therefore I'm waking up with just a better headspace, So I guess I just got to keep doing that for a little while and see if this is actually something that's sticking.
Would you mind kind of like take us through the routine, what that looks like for you?
Yeah, so usually it's going to be in the morning. When I do the ice bath, I do the ice bath first. And, for me, it's about leaning into that discomfort. And what I've noticed at the Spacebar, we do a lot of ice baths for people. And I always try to bring in a deeper intention because, ice baths and cold immersion has been really popular lately. And a lot of people are doing it because looks cool, you know what I mean? Makes a great Instagram photo. And, a lot of the times it's been tied to this idea of recovery, but it's not really recovery in the way that people think that it is. And like, it's just going to make your muscles recover faster and you can perform. But it's more about stimulating like a stress response so that your body actually has to calm itself down in order to recover. So I use that as a way to like get into this fight or flight and then breathe in a way that calms myself down. So through that, and then, I mean, you also through the cold immersion, you release stress hormones that you actually increase your immune system by, increasing of white blood cells and whatnot. So that's a benefit from it too. So start with the ice bath, sit in the sauna. In the sauna, I do a little breath work as well, kind of with the same train of thought to increase my stress response through heavy breathing, and then I slow it down to slow breathing. And then the red light, you just stand there, stand in front of it and let it do its thing. So whether it's the actual services themselves or just my additional focus on making time for myself to do it, that's how I think a lot of times. Like, even though I have this business and, I could go down that like rabbit hole of marketing and selling these things. Oh, this infrared sauna is going to detox, blah, blah. I don't even play that game because I know better. That's not really what it is. It's correlative, like we have so many different things going on in our world that we're not a controlled study. So we can't, even for myself saying that, oh, my recovery scores are better, I can't 100% say, oh, it's these saunas I'm doing. it very well likely could just be my mindset shift in where I'm just taking time for myself, whatever it might be. I could replace sauna with reading a book, and maybe my recovery scores are going good. You know what I mean? But it's just, if you find something that's working, keep doing it. You know what I mean? And you know, think it through, maybe question it a little bit, but just if it's working.
Now let me ask you something, Jacob. Beside the whoop stating that you recover at some point, do you feel better?
I mean, and that's what I struggle with, is like attaching how I'm physically feeling to it. Like there's a little bit of a detachment there. So what I am trying to recognize is how I feel in the morning. Mm-hmm. So usually the mornings are just wheels spinning, like really hard for me to get out of bed. Mm-hmm. I have to like pull myself out of bed and talk myself into, you know, attacking the day. Mm-hmm. But past couple of days, it's like, oh, I'm right out, you know? So I'll use that as like a data point, as something.
That's a good feedback.
You know,
that's a good feedback for sure.
Jacob, let me ask, how's your sleep though? How's your sleep been also?
So, I mean, I go to sleep real easily. Like I rest as soon as I lay down, I'm knocked out. It's not, the data on the Whoop, I don't really use too much for like how many hours I'm in deep sleep. I don't really measure that too much. But I never like wake up feeling tired. It's never like, oh, I didn't get enough sleep. So I think I sleep pretty well. It's just more of like, it's just the mindset of like that I find myself early in the morning of just like, I mean, I would say depressed. It's like those are feelings of depression in the morning typically, and hasn't been that for the past couple of days. So I'll use that as a good sign.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How much time totally allocate to the routine in the morning?
Just an hour.
An hour.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, it really doesn't take long. You know, especially the breath work stuff. You know, it's 3 to 5 minutes. That's it, man. Really easy.
I was listening to something I heard. I think it was a podcast, but someone said, you know, people who typically say they don't have time for stretching in the morning need stretching in the morning. Or people who say they don't have time for therapy usually need therapy, right? So it sounds like, you know, people who don't need time, people say they don't have time for these services for self, to take care of self before they, you know, do most things. Usually most of us are those people that we need that time the most. Mm-hmm. Dope that you're taking time for yourself, man.
I mean, it was annoying is I had this shit available to me for so long, right?
You know, I'm so jealous, man. I just wish you were so, you know, closer.
Well,
to us.
Maybe we can manifest something.
Oh, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that.
But you, Ant, man, you said you guys had like a conversation about a month ago. I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing some of the things that you guys talked about and like the shift of what you're working on and why you're excited about. Maybe.
Yeah. So, so I had gone to a series of events that kind of made me realize that I call myself very self-reflective. I like to believe that I'm self-aware. And I've worked on myself in a lot of different areas, my physical, you know, my psychological, my intellectual, right? But I hadn't really taken care of myself in the respect of taking on the ownership of being a provider very, very seriously. I was an early father. I was a dad at 21 and didn't really know who I was and what I wanted to do and who I was as a man at all, right? And so I did the best I could, kind of fill in the blanks with what I knew and what I saw. My father's amazing, so I had an amazing North Star, so to speak, but I didn't really know how to come into my own and I'd say like sufficiently wear the cap as a provider without really knowing who I was as a man, right? And what I stood on in terms of my principles. And so I feel like as I'm growing, having solid men in my life and having meaningful relationships and men that hold me accountable as much as I hold myself accountable, you know, I'm learning a ton about who I am and who I want to be, and walking that line as that man is becoming more and more proficient for me, right? And so having a talk with my man right here, it was a very, very candid and heartfelt conversation. I needed to hear it. And at that point, I kind of shifted my perspective in much how I approached my bodybuilding career, as, you know, making sure I'm crossing my T's and dotting my I's, and, you know, looking at these in forms of X's and O's and what it takes to have this be a very, very likely outcome, if not an inevitable outcome. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the other facets of my life just that way, you know? And so just shifting my focus and shifting my energy and realizing that I deserve some things. And when he said that, you know, that's always a trigger for me. That's like a light bulb, right? not always understanding that we deserve all the things that we aspire to have, you know. And sometimes we get those things and we have them right in our hands and we don't even feel like we deserve them, and we'll drop them, right, if we don't think we deserve them. Somehow it'll be inevitable. They'll slip through.
Well, yeah, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
With this kind of new focus on, providing, and I think in the context here, we're largely talking about finances. Do you see more of an opportunity in like new things that you're doing, or like a new approach to things that you're already doing? So I guess where, you, like you said, you do some events and, you work with other companies and stuff like that. So just do these, again, this is like something that I don't necessarily know how it even works, but like if these companies that are reaching out to you, they obviously see value in bringing you on board to support the product that, you're either already supporting or you buy into because you get to know them and you're like, all right, yeah, this is a dope company, I'm with that.
Yeah.
What does that conversation like look like from their standpoint? Are they like, hey, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars to do this? And I ask this because, I feel like right then and there, I don't know if you're doing this or not, but like people are reaching out to you to work with them. Are you having those conversations about like, hey, like this is what it's going to take to work with me?
Yeah. Yeah. So both of those scenarios have happened, and currently happen, where a company will reach out and say, hey, we have a project or a campaign we'd like you to be a part of. This is what we'll pay you. Then there's also things like, we have a campaign we'd like you to be a part of. What would it take for you to be a part of it? And both of those things happen. But in respect to what we were talking about, it was more so being open to things that normally I would naturally just innately and just subconsciously shut myself out of because of not really understanding who I was and what I deserved based on my principles, if that makes sense. Yeah, I mean.
And let me ask you something. So, what that looks like on a practical landscape of things? What are the changes that you've made? Whatever you can share here in this platform.
Let me think for you. I want to give you something absolutely honest. Okay, I'm naturally a pretty what's the word I'm looking for? Can you say to yourself?
Say again?
Introvert.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Blank for a sec. I'm naturally pretty introverted. I'm comfortable that way, and to network, that's not necessarily an attribute that's going to work for you. And so I've been just open to new opportunities, open to new conversations, open to new sit downs, just open to things where I would naturally receive an email or receive a DM, and you can read kind of like what the first few words are going to be, right? And if it's something like, hey, we'd like to, or hey, we've noticed you. I have anxiety with things like that. I've always had anxiety with things like that. And so I naturally would just kind of like, it's probably some bullshit. Kind of scroll it, telling myself that it was something that would probably not be interesting to me. And usually it absolutely is. And so just being open to things and not shutting myself out of things that I absolutely deserve based upon the work and the work I've put in thus far, physically, intuitively, but also person I want to become. I deserve these things.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, like I struggle with that, like that idea of deserving anything. I really have a hard time with that because what separates another person similar to me, putting in just amount of work, just amount of effort, blah, 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 that doesn't get it, or I guess similar in the fact that, we all grew up probably towing the line, a lot of gray areas, made some bad choices, committed some crimes, if you will.
Yes.
But didn't get caught. You know what I mean? So are we then not deserving of the punishments, or are those other people that got caught deserving of it? You know what I mean? So I guess that's the negative side of it, because sometimes,
I believe we just have we just need to learn a lesson a different way, right? So I think we were destined, so to speak, to learn whatever lesson we need to be learned, in just in a different way, right? And that's the question I was asking myself. As I share with you guys, I just started working for the OC Juvenile Hall and volunteering there 2 hours a week and running their fitness program. And And yeah, I was asking that same question while I was looking around the room and, looking at those guys. And I'm like, why, I'm sitting on this side of the room, right? I've done probably 70-80% of what those guys have done. And I didn't get caught. And so I sit with that feeling for a bit. And yeah, and that's the answer I came up with. I learned my lesson through different struggles. I got I got different punishment. Yeah, I think go ahead.
I think to listening to like the hot words, right? Like your perspective on what your punishment versus what your lesson is, right? Like we've all had, shitty things happen, circumstances. And if you can look at that circumstance and be like, man, this was a fucked up punishment, you're probably going to figure out a way to do this again and avoid the punishment. But if, you get hit in the face with something that's really unfortunate and you're like, man, what is this teaching me right now? What could I learn from this really, really shitty circumstance?
And this is the thing, I think what the differentiate actually, the punishment is the underlying belief we had when we did commit that crime or that, whatever that was, that bad thing that we're not proud of, right? I believe that we, for me, at least for me, although I have done some fucked up things, my underlying belief was always to be better. I wanted to better myself. I wanted to become a better version of myself. So that would kind of like probably redirect my fate, if you will.
Sure.
Right? Maybe for those guys, they were, the guys that get caught, maybe they had a different underlying belief. That's what they thought they were destined to do. And so the universe, again, if you will, redirect them in a different way.
Right, that makes sense.
So with this, what are you guys using as the metric of deserving? So when, say, you change your belief system and when an opportunity presents itself, you're now saying that you deserve it. What kind of metrics are you using? Is it time spent? Is it money invested? Oh, I invested $100,000, so I deserve, $110K back, or what? You know what I mean? Like, what is it that you can use to hang your hat on as feeling? Because just some people, really on the woo-woo side of things, would just by the nature of you being you are enough. You deserve, all the things. You know what I mean? Or do you believe that just by being a human, you deserve all? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Jay, I gotta be honest with you. Yeah, I always struggle with that thought process of deserving happiness, deserving abundance, deserving love, deserving. Money. I was just because I was who I was, just for being me. And, yes, I deserve to be happy. I deserve love. I deserve abundance. I deserve success for being just who I am. And reason B for me is like when I wake up in the morning, my moral compass is to do the best I can, to do the right thing. And because of that, yeah, I come short. I do fail sometimes more than others. But because of that, just on that premise, I deserve all these things. And I used to chase them. I stopped because I realized that by chasing them, they were running away from me. Now I just show up. That's my only concern. I show up and do the right thing. And now what I start noticing is now all the things that I wanted are actually coming to me. Maybe in a different fashion, maybe in a different format that I originally liked, right? But they're still serving their purpose.
And for me, all those things too, and I try to break it down in a couple of segments. I believe that I heard it in another dope ass podcast. Like I started writing these topics down, these names down, but What you believe determines your behavior, and your behavior is all that matters. So believe, personally, if you believe these types of things, your actions are gonna dictate an inner, deeper inner belief. But also, you mentioned some things, right? Like success, love, abundance. I believe I deserve these things because I fucking give them hard, efficiently, consistently, almost to a fault. I love everyone around me, even the people that probably don't love me back, right? I try my best to contribute to everyone else's success, almost more than my own, to a fault, right? So we can go down the list. I'm not saying I'm perfect in any fashion, but my intentions are to love you fucking guys. I love you guys, right? I tell you guys all the time. I tell men I love them all the time. I mean that shit. I really, really do. And so I believe I deserve it just on the sheer intention that I want to give as much love as possible.
And this is another lesson that I learned is it's not so much our thoughts process, right, that determine the outcome, right? We want all these things at a conscious level, but that doesn't mean jack shit if our subconscious is not in alignment with that. So it's not so much the thoughts process, it's the language. It's the language that changes the outcome. It's what we tell ourselves, right?
Yeah, and just as you mentioned, that's what I was thinking about when you were talking about, is like, if I struggle with the word deserving, I could change that and just be more receiving. So as far as when somebody's trying to give me something, sometimes I'll go to that and be like, I don't necessarily deserve that, so, and therefore I won't receive that. But if
at
I
a conscious level or a subconscious level?
Probably more of a subconscious level, because when I look back and like, damn, I'm putting in work, I'm showing up, I'm fucking like clocking in, and it's like, why is this business not successful? Because if you are deserving something and the good things are coming from it, when something's not going well, then I guess that side of the coin would be that you're not deserving. But that's not really what's happening here. Is that I just kind of struggle with receiving. So they're so how that shows up a lot of the times is not receiving payment from, say, a segment of people. Like, we'll just use the space bar, for example, and where, I do a promotion for like the health and wellness industry. I want to like treat people to come and get exposure, and I know that they're going to enjoy it, and they're going to spread the word or whatever. And it's like, when people want to pay, I won't receive it sometimes, and it's like, so if I'm like, damn, why is this not popping off right now? Because I said no to. You're
blocking the flow by doing that. You're blocking the flow.
So it's like, I'm saying no to receiving 300 plus sessions over the past couple months that could have been paying money.
What if you flipped it on its head and you looked at it as if these people, you could potentially, the way I look at it, I don't want to say you, but the way I look at it, because I struggle with this too, is I'm robbing this individual of the joy of wanting to contribute and help me. So this person is going, hey, I want to help you. And I'm like, nope, don't. And I'm robbing that person of the joy of innately wanting to just do something to help me. So there are times that I'll be like, yeah, I probably don't deserve what this person is offering me, but I definitely don't want to take the joy from them if they feel like they want to help me,
Yeah. So like, I was looking into kind of some like crowdfunding things or whatever, and I came across this company that it's like a crowdfunding type of.
What's a crowdfunding? I haven't ever.
So like GoFundMe, for example, you create a thing, people just give you money. That's more of a donation-based one. This one is more of a kind of a debt-based one. So you're raising capital from social networks or just people around you, average Joes, just not. But it's more of a debt again. So people are, say, investing X amount of dollars, they get a return of
so there's an ROI. There is an ROI on that.
Right.
Okay, got it.
So anyways, I'm looking at this company. I actually had a call with them today, and it's like, it's kind of expensive money, as far as to take lending on, but like I've never had the best relationships with banks, and especially all my businesses are, health and wellness related, fitness, cafes, whatever. And if you go to a traditional lending around that, they're the highest risk businesses. You're not getting shit. You know what I mean? So it's always been a struggle. So this idea of like a crowd-based funding thing, I think, especially with these lifestyle brands, I think it could go really well. But as I have this conversation and I'm looking at their website, I'm looking at their active campaigns, the guy's like, oh, we can easily raise X amount of dollars, whatever. It's like, I can see that. And I'm watching these other videos of these other small businesses, and I'm, in my mind, this is again when I, sometimes call myself like this fucking just natural hater. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And this is coming from a place of almost the same place of feeling like I deserve these things. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at these other videos and I'm like, that's fucking kind of a lame idea, but they got their money. I mean, and I'm like, oh, I would fucking kill that content video, this little commercial way better than that motherfucker. I think that's, and this is probably part of my problem, is that I go to these judgmental places sometimes, which prevents me from like just being like super authentic and doing my shit. So anyways, I'm looking at this, I'm thinking like, man, like I know we'd crush it. I really think, and if this guy's that confident that we could raise this money, it's like, I fucking know, I'm doing air quotes here, I know I can do this, but then I can't really see it happening, and that's, again, part of this deserving, not deserving thing is like what we put together is pretty fucking dope, but I just cannot quite really see that happening.
Yeah, so we had this conversation a few days ago over the phone, remember? And what I believe it's going on, and that's been the struggle all my life until a few weeks ago, is we are concerned with the how. How are we going to make that happen? How is this going to happen for us, right? Instead of saying, this shit is just going to happen. I don't care how. I don't care who. Yeah. I don't care what. This shit just going to happen. If we change that language, if we move from the how to it's going to happen, or it happened, just time didn't caught up with it yet, you're going to see a major shift. For me, and you know me, you know my background. I am a spreadsheet, P&L, right, going through the numbers, and that's exactly what it got in the way for me. The how. Once I was able to remove that, shit is just happening, man. Shit is just happening without me even looking for it. Like I say, it's just coming to me. And it sounds magical, and it's fucking magical. It is. I am. That's where my happiness come from. That's where my happiness come from. And I don't even, I don't even regret finding it out at 41 years old. That's what I needed to go through. The punishment. Maybe those guys, those 15 to 23 years old guys that are sitting in jail, they will get to this point much earlier than I did, just as a consequence, as a cause of them being sitting there with time on their hands to go through this process.
Yeah, man, it's a trip, and I think, because by no means am I losing faith, because like I've seen a lot of that. I mean, with the things that we've done and we put together, it's like that's how it always does happen. And you're like, wow, man, like how the hell did that happen? Well, boom, like timing of certain things, you know what I mean? It's just like how it pans out. So yeah, it's interesting, man. It's interesting.
I know we have some questions from our audience who wants. Yeah. I didn't put out anything, so I don't have any questions. I got
a couple here. So
all right.
So this is kind of an effort to bring this conversation, other people into the conversation, and whether it's going live on Instagram last week or just posing some questions on IG. Our goal for us is to bring others into this like reflective process, or kind of hopefully these questions stem from your own thought processes, and you just maybe want our insight. So peel back your own layers, if you will, and we'll go from there. So I got one here that we'll start with this one from my guy Caleb Wood Fitness on Instagram. I just asking what the mindset is going into the new year. So we can individually answer. I'll start. For me, I really don't hang my hat on New Year's or anything. You know what I mean? So my mindset now is what's taking me into the new year, right? So it's like these shits happen for me like real time, and I'm not one to like choose a date. For me, like January 1 is literally another day on the calendar that just somebody made up. You know what I mean? So my current mindset is to continue to get clarity on what it is that I want to work on moving forward, knowing that I have the personality to take on a lot of different projects and stretch myself thin, not necessarily turning my back on that, just being more clear on what it is that I want to focus on and do better at aligning the things so that they are manageable. So that's where I'm at. And I've started the process and letting some things go. So continuing that. So that's my mindset, is to keep plugging away, keep getting clear on what it is that is really motivating me, work with people that I know are going to carry their weight and aren't going to fucking bail on me, you know, and I think work smarter and not harder, you know, and I think what that means is, you know, I've done a lot of brick and mortar stuff, which is fine, and, you know, I interact well with people in person. I do customer service really, really solid, but I think having some form of online business to free up some of the time a little bit and automate a few things on that front, even if it's just maybe apparel, or, you know, doing something along those lines, just something that's not just dealing with 10 to 15 employees at a new location, you know, like that's not something I enjoy. You know, no offense to any of the crew listening, but it's more of like the HR bullshit and like the calling out and stuff like that. So that's where my mindset is for the new year.
Go ahead, Anthony.
My mindset going into the new year is to become even more aware and in tune with my energy, where it is, where it's going, where I place it, who has access to it, with the intention to be more efficient with giving out more efficient love to everyone else, if that makes sense. I feel like I could practice a little bit more accuracy and more I could be a little bit more in tune with how much energy I give out into who and when and where and all those things. Intention, that's the word. Thank you. Be more in tune with and have more intention with it. And I feel like in turn I'll be a fucking assassin at loving my friends and family better, with my business, being a better father and brother, a son, and the list goes on. So I feel like, you know, it's not really any kind of like a drawing a blank. What's the word? It's not like a 2022 is a you get a resolution. God, thank you. It's not really a resolution. I feel like I'm in flow lately, and I just want to double down on myself, bet on myself, and then yeah, that's about it, man.
That's awesome, man. What are you gonna do to allow people to love you more?
To allow people to love me more? I mean, I don't know. I didn't say that.
No, what are you gonna? I know you didn't say that.
Oh,
that's a question.
What am I gonna do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna change?
To allow people to love me more?
Yeah, to receive more love.
Oh, I know where you're going with this. I just be a little bit more vulnerable with the people around me, I believe, with intention, and due diligence with that, but be calculatedly accurate with the ones around me and allow myself to receive the love. I'm not historically good at being open with people and receiving love from people. That's the issue with believing I'm deserving of love and growing up feeling that way. But that's definitely what I'm gonna actually do. Yeah. Good question. Thank you for that.
Well, for me, New Year was never New Year resolution or New Year per se was never a factor, was never a thing. But this year, it is. This year is. I know 2022, it's gonna be the year. I never felt that way before. Actually, I always kind of not shy away. I don't know. Again, I can't find the right word. I always, I want to say ate the new year, but again, it was never a factor, right? This year is. It's not the January 1st. What's gonna dictate the new year for me? The new year. It's gonna be dictated with what I gonna accomplish. It could be as early as January, it could be as late as December. I don't care. But 2022 is gonna be the year.
Let's fucking go. We're running out of time a little bit, but I got another question here, and this is a little deep. This is kind of a deeper question, a little riddle here, I guess, if you will, from Moises Avila. Ask the question: is the meaning of life all about acquiring as much responsibility as you can bear? I mean, the meaning of life, man, that's a heavy hitter, and we sure as hell ain't going to answer it here. But I have some initial kind of gut reactions with this. I see kind of where you could go with this. And like for me, I'd say no. I'm going to say it's not about as much responsibility as you can bear. And if it is, recognizing where you are within these seasons, because sometimes responsibility just kind of compounds on top of itself, right? So it's like there's a time and a place, and I'm kind of entering, I think, maybe a little bit of this season where it's like I don't want to be so responsible for some things. I think being responsible is kind of a little bit of a hat tip to what you've done in the past, and that people are trusting you with these certain things, like, oh, I can come to Jacob, he's going to make me feel better, and that's, but in time, it becomes a lot of weight. And I wouldn't say I want it to compound. So I think the key thing here is as much as you can bear. So if you're onboarding this new responsibility of, say, starting in a new business or taking on a family or even a car note, like these are all responsibilities. By the time you're old and you just want to kind of relax, those could all be really weighing on you, and your willingness to bear that just might not be there. So if you're not strategically taking on these responsibilities, you could find yourself kind of buried in responsibility.
I believe the key point in that conversation is not so much taking on responsibilities, is the motive behind taking on these responsibility. Are you taking on responsibilities because you are overextending, right? Because you don't feel you have what it takes, you don't feel you are enough, and therefore I'm taking on responsibility because I'm trying to compensate for that. I'm taking on responsibility because that's actually fulfill my heart, brings joy into my life. If that's the kind of responsibility, yeah, maybe she is right? But taking on responsibility just for the purpose of trying to fill a void, compensating for something, and then you're gonna take on as much responsibility as you want just to feel miserable.
Yeah, I mean, because, and this, I think I'm hanging up on this, the word, to bear, because you can bear a lot, but are you like content with that? You know what I mean? So like, how are we going to define that? Because
I think the word bear comes in with taking on responsibility as a result, as an action of, again, compensating, right? Because if you're taking on responsibility that fulfills your life, like I said, I take on the responsibility of training those 16 guys in Austin Juvenile all, right? It will take times away from my schedule. That's a responsibility I have. That's not an obligation, but that's a commitment that I made. But that fulfills my heart. So there is no a bear there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because not all responsibility is a burden.
No.
No.
When I hear that, I get a little confused or conflicted, because I've always identified the meaning of life with how much you give. And it sounds like that question is posed as the meaning of life is how much you can acquire of something.
Or even take on, right?
Right. But also, like, it sounds like that question is posed as responsibility is synonymous with achievement, right? Like how much I can achieve, but you don't always acquire responsibility when you achieve. And you can be responsible for cleaning 1,000 toilets an hour. Doesn't mean you're necessarily acquiring anything worth acquiring if that's not where you're aligning with. So you can have compounded responsibility. You could be responsible for cleaning all the floors on all the hotel floors of the Orleans Hotel in Vegas. Those are your responsibility for 8 hours. It's a big ass responsibility, but if you're not aligned with that and it doesn't bring you internal joy or internal fulfillment, then you just got a lot of
That's a
responsibilities.
burden.
Yeah, you just
That's
got a lot of
you
responsibilities.
go from responsibility to a burden.
Right.
Yeah, look
And
forward.
even, like if you've got all this responsibility and you're not happy doing it, then what's the meaning of your life? To just acquire more things that you're responsible of? Or,
Yeah.
I don't know, I've always felt you got to get more.
I mean, I look forward to diving a little bit deeper with Moises on that conversation because, yeah, I mean, it's a balance, man. It's a balance. And, you know, that's the thing about responsibility is like when you're responsible for it, you can't just turn it off. So, you know, the day that you can bear it, the next day you might not be able to, you know, and it's like, then what? You're stuck with this, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, dude, interesting. I know Ant Wood's got a lot of fitness questions, but, you know, here we're pulling back the layers. If you want those questions, you pay the man.
Cardio
Pay the man. He's
questions.
deserving of that. Those, you know, how do they get a hold of you for online coaching?
Man,
No,
DM me.
but you gotta answer the cardio question. You gotta answer that cardio question.
Roller
All right,
skates.
let's
It's
do
gonna
it.
be a fast one.
All right, let's do
I
it.
can answer that one for you if you want.
All right, let me get the exact question so you can answer it real fast.
We all get to answer it.
Because I didn't get as many questions as I wanted to get from you guys. But this one is,
Oh, here's a quick little fun one from Nuncio.
what?
Who's going to win in a foot race between all of us?
On foot race.
Yep. Depends on the distance.
What's the-
Yeah,
who?
Between the three of us, who's winning? I know you're only good for 10 yards for your
I
fucking
play
hammy
for.
pulls. Bro, you kidding
Oh,
me?
you heard about that?
Yeah, bro.
Oh yeah.
Hammy pulling in 10
I
yards.
told you about that. Bringing up old shit. Question: cardio. How many times a week do you do it?
Zero.
I don't do any cardio. Damn it.
It's all in the definition, huh? You know?
Yeah. Put in work.
Steps cardio.
Yeah, you know, I roller skate.
Roller skate.
You know,
I just eat faster. That's my,
that's it. That's it.
no, but no. On a serious note, though, cardio front, I think it's gotten a really bad rap. I know I go on this whole spectrum of you know, like, you know, owning gyms and shit. Like you see a lot of cardio bunnies. Like that's the last thing you want to see is like someone just coming in and running on the treadmill, especially when you sat down and you know their goals of, say, a physique change or they want to become leaner and lose body fat. The answer a lot of times that people think it is cardio. So they default to that. So in an effort, I think same thing with you guys, why you say you don't do cardio, you swing to the other side and you're like, you know what, look how shredded I
No,
can
it's
stay.
not like we don't do cardio. Ant Woods doesn't do
Ant
cardio.
Woods doesn't
Yeah,
do
doesn't
cardio.
do cardio.
Okay,
Let me clarify though. Let me just be extra clear. I don't do any traditional cardio, right? So I don't do like the treadmill thing. You won't see me on the Stairmaster. I don't do that anymore. I used to. It's been years since I've done that. But I do train a certain way. I kind of keep an eye on my rest periods. I train very, very intense. And I do work, man. I don't bullshit. I don't play around. I may talk to my guy in here, but we do what we do, and I make sure that my heart rate is up. So if you look at what cardio is about, it's about your heart rate, it's about your cardiovascular system, and you want to make sure you're paying attention to that. So
definitely.
you don't have to be on a treadmill, you don't have to be on the stairs, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's what, you know, people need to realize. So, you know, don't not do cardio. The cardio is literally getting your heart rate elevated for an extended period of time.
Yep.
And what I'm coming to the realization of is like, again, like I can stay relatively lean without gaining a lot of weight by, again, not doing any cardio, but I'm starting to feel some of the repercussions of that. So, you know, some of the things that I want to start working on is getting out there and logging a few miles running, you know what I mean? Because cardio is more about cardiovascular health and overall health. And it's not necessarily a physique thing. It's probably something that could almost ruin a bit of your physique goals because, you know, you fucking get a bigger appetite from doing cardio.
Absolutely.
Sometimes. You might overeat what you just burned with your intention, right? And it's like, so yeah, so
as I shared with you guys yesterday, you know, as I'm transitioning from more of a physique-based coach to a performance-based coach, I'm getting, you know, I'm doing a lot of reading. I'm doing a lot of research. I'm learning of the, you know, of the energy system. I have a better understanding of the energy system, and it's amazing where our energy system are responsible for actually, obviously, the performance side of things, but also from a physique standpoint. It's, you know what I mean, it's amazing. So I believe if you can find your system, if you can find what works for you, because what works for me might not work for you, it may not work for you, but it's vice versa. but it's amazing. If it's worth to spend some time and take the time to learn that just as much people take the time to learn about hypertrophy or strength work in general. And it's worth it to spend some time and learn about that, because there is a lot of benefit of knowing how that plays a role in the background of things. It's huge. I had no idea.
Energy systems.
I've been in conversation fitness for 20 years. And yes, cardio was always a thing, again, just from, that I applied just from a physics standpoint. But I neglected actually the real value behind cardiovascular conditioning work.
Yeah, because as you're moving through these different energy systems, your body is literally using different sources of fuel to sustain those energy systems, and that's why, you hear about the fat burning zone when it's not really burning body fat, it's burning, lipids as that energy to burn, at a certain heart rate, right? And it's like, yeah. So, anyways, this is a place for fitness questions. So keep them coming. That's completely fine. Yeah. So stay engaged with us. Whether it's through the IG that we're currently sleeping on, Warriors.collective. Eventually we'll get some posts on there.
We're waiting on a logo here.
We got a sick ass logo coming. Be on the lookout for that.
Oh damn, that's pressure, bro.
Yeah. 2022.
Oh, it better be sick. The designer better be watching. It'll be fire, or you're fired.
We talking Delta variant sick, or we talking Omarion B2K variant sick?
I'm talking stay inside. You can't go anywhere.
Okay.
TikTok it up.
All right, dope. All right, well, let's wrap it up. Fellas, I appreciate you, man. It was a pretty good, it didn't feel too heavy of a conversation, but I still feel like we got to kind of peel back some layers.
It doesn't have to be heavy all the time, guys. It doesn't, it's okay. It's okay to keep it light sometime.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's wrap this up, y'all. This is probably going to be the last episode of the new year, so happy 2022 if this is when you guys are listening to it. I'm checking out.
Hopefully Jacob puts it out before 2022.
Nah, it should be able to. I don't even know what day it is, man, honestly. Honestly.
Jacob's a workhorse, man.
But you guys enjoy your New Year's. Be safe this year. Appreciate you guys. Looking back on 2021, we spent a lot of time together, man, and very impactful. I would say probably one of the highlights, man, is like being able to get to know you guys better and being able to do this and just talk about some of the real shit that we struggle with. So appreciate you very much. You guys can find me in person, but for everyone else listening, Cub_Saldana on Instagram. Holla at me.
I was actually just driving in the car. I think I was talking to my dad or my mom, actually, one of them, about just reflecting out the year and reflecting on just the growth that I've noticed within myself. And I attribute a ton of that to the lessons I've learned from you both, either from communicating or just from observing and just watching men that I admire do the shit that they do on a daily basis. I've seen you both stumble. I've never seen you fall. But I've seen you both stumble, and I've watched you pick yourselves up. I've watched you, dust yourselves off and assess what needs to happen for the next. And I've watched you both reinvent yourselves as men, and that shit is amazing. So I want to tip my hat to you both. I fucking care about you guys in a real way, and thank you for just caring about me and devoting and investing in me in the ways that you have. It means a lot.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man. So where they can find you at?
Oh, shit. You guys can hit me on the hip. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little late on the responses, but I love you. And you guys can hit me at Instagram at AntWoods with a Z.
All right. So you can find me at Strength Philosopher, and checking out with a lot of joy, guys. A lot of joy, a lot of excitement. And I don't know. I never felt this paradigm shift in my life like as I'm feeling it right now. So just gonna keep the momentum going, and I'm happy to move into this new phase of my life with you guys alongside, with you men alongside. So really, really grateful for that.
Let's go, fellas. Appreciate you guys. We out. Peace. All right, guys, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Warriors Collective. If you like what you heard and this resonated with you, don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well as the bell so that you get all the alerts and updates of when new episodes come out. You can also find us on all podcast streaming channels. Apple, Spotify, and your other favorite channels as well.